When venturing into any career field, it is pertinent to know beforehand whether you want to be a generalist or a specialist. This determines how you set up your profile online and what title tags you want to be identified with. It can also determine the type of role you apply for. What does it mean to be a specialist or a generalist, and why does it even matter? You're listening to the TechNet Show, your weekly dose of the latest tech stories, analysis, interviews, and opportunities in the world of tech. If you're a techie or an enthusiast looking to stay up to date, this is the show for you. Be a part of the conversation and stay connected to our tech community on Telegram at TechNet Show. In today's episode, the duo will discuss being a generalist and a specialist, what it means, the pros and cons, and how to find the one that best suits you. Hello and welcome to another insightful session with us on the TechNet Show. I am your host, Victoria Emeje, and I am blazing through this ride with my co-host, Samuel Bassey. Let's begin by understanding what each term means and see if you're already one of the two. Afterward, we dissect the pros and cons of each term and how you can choose the one that best suits you starting out in tech. Let's get right into the conversation. Now, who is a specialist? What does it mean? Now, specialists are experts in a particular subject or field or profession or discipline, setting them apart from other generalists. Now, these experts often gain thorough mastery of their chosen field or area of interest, and usually this is achieved via consistent and multiple training in a specific niche until you become an expert in that specialty. Now, for instance, product design or UX design is a general role, but a UX researcher for health tech or a UI designer for ed tech are specialized niches. Now, when you choose the design industry as your field, picking UX design as your niche, it is important to double niche down to, let's say, UX strategist or a UX writer, and whatever niche may appeal to you. Now, if you do this, it means you are specializing in that niche, and that makes you a specialist. Samuel, you're going to take us through what it means to be a generalist.
But I'm not a generalist.
I understand. Okay, we're both not generalists.
A generalist is actually basically a jack of all trades. We all know what a jack of all trades is. That means you are into digital marketing, you're into content creation, you're into content marketing, you're into design, graphics design. You can actually do almost everything, but you're not actually a master of any. You are just carrying up this and this. But if you cannot actually narrow down to, okay, this is where I'm actually a master. Now, the definition is actually something like a professional with a broad range of knowledge and several distinct talents, interests, and hobby. That means you have interests and you have talents in, maybe you are good in graphics design, you're actually good, but in terms of specialized information in that field, you will not know. We only know general knowledge in that field. That's how generalists are. You can actually use this to describe generalists. They have general knowledge of several fields, so they wear a lot of hats. That's just basically who generalist is.
So before getting into the pros and cons of specialists, let me just add to the generalist, right? Most times it's not just because they just have a hunger for different things. Sometimes most of these guys find themselves in a company where, okay, a lot is required. I have worked in a place and a position of a marketer, and I did every other thing. I did design, I did SEO, did a lot of other things that are just not only specific to being a marketer. Do you understand? So sometimes where you get your job, the company, and this happens most times with companies that are small and that have a small team, or that's companies that are just starting out. So they always require you to do a lot of other tasks because they are trying to manage funds. They can't afford to hire specialists in each of these required roles. Now, to talk about the pros of specialists, the first thing about being a specialist specialist is that you are seen as an expert in your field. You are regarded as an authority in your field. Now, professionals can get industry-specific expertise and a full understanding of their field by being specialists. How does this make sense in the industry? Like I just said, if you're going to work in a big company and you're hired as a specialist, what it does to your profile is you're seen as someone that knows this particular thing because you've done it over and over again. They can see your past performance and they can trust you that, okay, this person is highly knowledgeable about this specific field. This person is not just everywhere. And so they can expect a certain kind of result from you. And also it gives you some sort of credibility and some sort of, high profile by being recognized as that specialist and expert in that field. Now, another pro of being a specialist is that you have an opportunity and a chance to actually charge a lot of money as your monthly or weekly fee, right? And that's because specialists often are seen as people who must have invested a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of resources in learning and specializing in that field. So because they trust that you can deliver a lot, you guys, people who are specialists, are actually in high demand, and therefore you can easily negotiate a high stake compared to being a generalist, right? So specialists may earn more money because of their training and their expertise, and these professionals frequently pursue additional training, which may open up more job prospects for them. So another pros of being a specialist is that marketing yourself is as simple as you can ever get because you are aware of your audience. You know your specific target market. So marketing becomes easy. If you're a generalist, it may be an overwhelming thing to do, trying to market yourself online about what you can do. But if you're just a specialized expert, let's say in UI design or in UX writing or whatever niche that you are in, it becomes easy to quickly market to that specific market. If you are writing for edtech companies, it's easier to actually put yourself out there, promote yourself before this market because you understand the industry, you understand what they expect, and you know what you can deliver. So another pros of being a specialist is that it's easy for people in the industry, your networks, your connections, to actually refer you because over time they must have seen that this person is a specialist in this field. It's a specialist in branding for children products, for example. So it's easy for you to come up in people's minds to like, okay, we are referring you because we know this person very well. They can see a track of what you have done over the years. So it becomes so easy to achieve that. Unlike being a generalist, you do everything. So how many referrals are you going to get for doing everything? Now, another pros of being a specialist is that you aren't being measured against a sea of other, let's say, developers, designers, or marketers, or whatever your niche is. You're not being measured against a large number of people in that particular niche. So it becomes easy for companies to actually select, unlike if you were actually a generalist, all right? There are a lot of UX designers, a lot of software engineers, and a lot of marketers, digital marketers. But where do you fall in? How do you make it easy for the recruiters to actually pick you out and then select you for the role? So these are some of the advantages that specialists enjoy. So Sam will be taking us through the cons, which is actually the disadvantages that people who are specialists may face in the industry being specialists. Samuel?
Okay, so the cons of specialists, first one is people who concentrate on one discipline, they run the risk of being replaced by other variables like technology or change in career pattern or change in a particular sector and the rest. If you're a specialist, you may run the risk of being replaced. Another one is that specialists with specialized knowledge and skill would find it difficult to get employment outside of their area of specialization. This can be advantageous because this expert can hold the position for a longer time. It's also advantageous because you can also hold their position for a longer time. For instance, you are in a field like petroleum engineering. You are just focus on one area, which is the petroleum industry. Anything outside the petroleum industry, you will not be able to function very well. Maybe unless you try to put yourself or develop your skill in other career paths. So specialists with specialized knowledge and skill find it very difficult to get employment outside of their areas. Another con is that deep industry knowledge requires significant amount of time and effort. You cannot just almost be an expert in a field, you cannot be a specialist in a field without investing time and effort to dig deep into the field and know what's actually going on. So you really need to invest time and effort if you really want to be a specialist. And this, most people are actually not ready to, or actually not able to attain this level of focus. So that's why they can actually get up to this level.
Like what you hear so far, make sure not to miss any of our episodes by subscribing to us now and joining our community on Telegram at t.me/technoshow. Now, back to the show.
Another thing is you actually, at the point, since you're actually repeating maybe a routine of activity, you may actually get bored at the point and it will cause fatigue, redundancy, and the rest. Those are the cons of specialists.
Okay, we're moving to the pros and cons of a generalist. And Samuel is taking us through the pros first. Then I will go ahead to take the cons.
The first one I consider is that being a journalist, you possess a variety of abilities, and this alone may open you up to, lots of employment options and things that actually keep people, there are just mentioned redundancy and being bored. Being open to several employment options, you can never be professionally stagnant, because if you're not found doing this, you'll be doing this. If you're not found doing this, you'll be doing this. So that's actually one of the major advantages of being a journalist. And also having general knowledge in several fields can actually help you if you want to start up your business. Maybe I want to start up a company now, and I have knowledge in this, and I have general knowledge, and I have general, to actually help me, it will help me to manage my business very well. Maybe so department, I know little of operations in this department, I know little of operations in the department. It helped me as a manager to manage my business very well. So anyone I'm employing, if you are trying to give me a breakdown of work that's been happening in your department, as a founder or as a CEO, I will actually know what you're talking about, because I have an idea about that field. And I can just oppose between different departments. I can fill in different positions and the rest. So that's one thing. As most times, I think most founders in the world they are usually generalists. Yeah, most founders are usually. So if you actually have
they are.
Maybe you want to start up a company tomorrow, or a startup, or a tech firm, you're actually a journalist. That means you are on the path. You're on the path, because we know that specialists do not grow up to be founders. They do, but being a journalist will give an edge over most issues that specialists do first. So those are the pros of being a journalist.
You did mention one particular pro that is people who are generalists, right? They stand a chance of understanding different departments and being able to work with teams seamlessly, and come up with ideas. So they are able to recognize relationships or the interconnectedness of different departments and how they can actually aid their team or departments because they have broad knowledge base. All right, so let's go ahead with the cons. Now, one of the cons of being a generalist is that since the skills of a generalist are less specialized, having to replace a generalist is easier and simpler than hiring a specialist or an expert in a specific field. However, this may give generalists a feeling of working stability, and because their skills are usually a transferable one, generalists may find employment more quickly than specialists. So there is a balance to these particular cons, right? You can be easily replaced. However, you can easily also get an employment, right? So that is on the good side. That can console you a little bit. So another con is that you want to say something?
I wanted to mention another con in this aspect.
Okay.
I think also due to their broad range of skills and knowledge, journalists may have less career focus and lesser ambitions. They might need additional assistance from co-workers or managers to get the knowledge they need about the best practice or necessary instructions to execute a particular task or activity. So actually, I think this is one of the major cons of being a generalist.
Okay, that's basically some of the cons attached to a generalist. And I think right about now we're going to move to talk about having understood what a generalist is, the advantages advantages and disadvantages of both. How do you now choose which to belong to when starting out or even right now as a practicing professional? So we have just a few factors to consider when choosing whether to become a generalist or a specialist. And the first thing we look at is your personality and your interest. Now, earlier when we were talking about this topic, someone mentioned that there is not everybody that would like to do everything in quotes now. It's not everybody that has the ability or to do several things at the same time. So if you look at your personality and you know you're someone that, you cannot be doing programming, you cannot be doing graphic design, you cannot be doing digital marketing, and you're running all these various skills at the same time, then you shouldn't become a generalist. Don't try to be everywhere. All right. So, and another thing is your interest. What are you interested in? Okay, if you are in design, what aspect of design are you interested in? Are you someone who is visually inclined? You are more interested in how something looks, the aesthetics of a particular thing. If that's your major interest, you should be considering specializing in visual design rather than being jack of all trades. You do UX research, you do everything, you do interaction design, you do web design all together. So your interest matters, and your personality also is key to choosing whether to be a generalist or a specialist. Someone is going to take the next one.
Okay. The next one should be job satisfaction. Job satisfaction actually affects your productivity and how far you can go in a particular career or a particular field. So whenever you're choosing between being a generalist or a specialist, actually look at, if I'm doing a generalist, if I'm focusing on this thing, does it give me the necessary job satisfaction that will help me to deliver this job well? You have to consider that factor. If I'm a generalist or if I'm a generalist and so I can do this and this and this, which one can I do very well? Which one gives me job satisfaction? If I have a premium job satisfaction from doing 1 or 3 to 4 different jobs at the time, then it's okay. I can be this in, but imagine, or I can actually be a journalist. But you only know that if I'm doing a particular job, I get bored at the time, because getting bored, it will affect your productivity. It actually makes you feel okay. You won't even feel like opening your laptop or maybe whatever you're using to work for a longer time because you feel so bored. If you feel like you have not achieved anything for yourself. So you have to check out the job satisfaction you get from either being a generalist or being a specialist.
Okay, and I think the last factor you need to consider is the future trends and innovations. Now, if you're specializing in a particular niche, you need to be up to date. You need to know everything, having depth knowledge about that industry. And like we mentioned earlier, there are some trends, some new technologies that are capable of displacing people from their specific role with the rise of robotics and then AI. So if you're going to specialize, you have to think about, okay, what could happen in the next 5 years in this particular niche, in this particular role? Is it still going to be relevant or is going to be displaced by new technologies? Now, and if you choose generalist, it could be a fair advantage because should in case a particular niche gets displaced by new technologies, you can still hold on and hang on to another fruit. So the ball is in your court. It's up to you to decide what you feel you want to do. So, but basically what we are trying to establish is that both generalists and specialists have important roles to play in a company and in any team. So being a generalist is not, we're not trying to say it's a sin, but you just have to look at it. What are some of the things that are required and do you fit into that so that you not have a frustrated career? Your satisfaction is more important than any other thing. And that's why it's important for you to actually decide which one you want to do. And I think that's how much we could talk about on this specific topic. That's how much we can share on this particular topic. If you have more information, if you have a feedback on what your stand is concerning this, don't hesitate to send us a message. The link is always in the description. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thanks for being a part of today's conversation on The TechNats Show. Do follow us on social media at The TechNats Show. Join our growing tech community on Telegram at TechNats Show so you'll never miss any updates. If you find our content valuable, would love you to drop us comments or likes, or you could share it with your friends too. Catch you next week.